He said he'd be back in a week. That was 2 years ago. I still remember the sound of his suitcase dragging across our wooden floor. The morning sun had barely kissed the windows, and my coffee was still warm. He kissed me on the forehead and whispered, "It's just for the art residency, babe. 7 days. Then I'm yours again." I smiled. I believed him. What kind of wife doesn't support her husband's dream, right? He left for Italy to chase inspiration, to paint like he always said he would before life caught up with us. I stayed behind, paid the bills, took care of the house, watered his damn plants. I even set up an art corner for him in the guest room, new brushes, canvases, oils, waiting for him to return, like a loyal painting hanging on a wall gathering dust. But then 7 days turned into 14, 14 into a month. Then, silence. No return flight. No texts. No I miss you, no I love you. Just nothing. At first I thought maybe something happened. I filed a missing persons report, cried to his sister. Even emailed the residency program. They told me he had completed the program and extended his stay voluntarily. Voluntarily. As if I didn't exist. As if 5 years of marriage, a shared mortgage, and a dog named Baxter were just side projects. Background noise to his true calling. And the worst part? A month ago, I saw a photo on Instagram. Him. Smiling. Wine in one hand. A woman in the other. She looked like a painting herself. Messy curls. A red dress. Eyes that clearly didn't mind I was still legally his wife. I wanted to scream. Burn his studio. Smash every frame he ever hung on our walls. But instead, I took a breath. Because if he thought he could disappear into the sunset and leave me behind, he was about to learn I was no still life. I was a storm. And I was done waiting. My name is Zara. I'm 32. An architect by profession. A dreamer by heart. But above all, I was his wife. Aman was everything I never thought I'd find in this chaotic, ambition-driven world. He was soft where I was sharp. Messy where I was meticulous. He painted like his soul was too full for words. And I fell for him the way you fall asleep slowly, then all at once. We met at a college art exhibit. He was showcasing this abstract piece of blur of reds and golds and heartbreak, and I remember standing there, trying to decode it. He walked up beside me, not knowing I was the event's architect, and said, "Do you think it's too much?" I laughed and said, "It looks like a breakup painted during a fire drill." He grinned. That was it. We had dinner that night. Moved in 6 months later. Married in 2 years. Everything after that felt like a slow dance in a quiet room safe. Warm, familiar. We bought a little house on the edge of town, where the grass always looked too green and the neighbors smiled too much. He turned our garage into a studio. Painted barefoot, always barefoot, no matter how many times I told him we had nails lying around. And I loved him. With the kind of love that forgives forgotten anniversaries and late-night painting marathons. With the kind of love that stays up to cook at 2 a.m. because he forgot to eat. With the kind of love that said go when he got the offer to attend a prestigious art residency in Florence. I didn't hesitate. I booked his ticket myself. Even helped him pack. He was hesitant at first. "You sure you'll be okay, Zara? It's only a week." But, "Go," I said. Paint the world. I meant it. Every word. Because when you love someone that deeply, you don't cage them. You trust them to return. Aman, he was never a bad husband. Not in the way people imagine. He didn't yell. Never cheated at least not that I knew then. He was just distant sometimes. Like his body was in the room, but his heart was somewhere buried under oil paints and brushstrokes. But I filled the silence. I made excuses for his mood swings. Told myself he was just sensitive. Just tired. I didn't see it coming. No one ever does. That the man I loved, really loved, could leave so easily. Could disappear without a trace and leave me behind like an empty canvas he'd never finish. Now, looking back, maybe I was too busy loving him to notice he had stopped loving me. Or maybe he never really did. Maybe I was just a muse. A phase. a warm place to rest before the storm inside him found a new sky to thunder in. It started with a postcard. No envelope. No return address. Just a photo of a cobblestone street somewhere in Florence and 5 words scrawled across the back. Don't wait. Live your life. No signature. No love, Amon. Just those 5 words like a slap to the heart. I stared at it for minutes, trying to process whether it was real. Was this some kind of sick joke? A cruel prank? But the handwriting, I knew that handwriting. I had watched it pen love letters, sketch sunsets on napkins, sign birthday cards with little hearts. It was his, without a doubt. I dropped the card on the kitchen counter, next to the bills I could barely afford on my own. The mortgage had started swallowing us whole. His share of the payments vanished with him, and my architect salary, steady but modest, was stretched to the bone. But I still lit a candle for him every Friday night. Still kept his side of the closet untouched. Still told friends he was just away for work, because I couldn't face the truth. Not yet. Then came the night I opened his laptop. I didn't mean to snoop. I swear I didn't. But I was looking for an old tax document. Something boring. Something official. Instead, I found a folder buried deep inside his desktop files. Labeled Florence. I hesitated. Clicked it. Photos. Hundreds of them. Not of landscapes or famous cathedrals. Not of his paintings, but of her. The same woman from the Instagram post. Dark curls. Olive skin. That red dress again and again. Sometimes she was laughing, sometimes painting beside him, sometimes curled in a chair with a book and a glass of wine. In one photo, she was wearing his hoodie. In another, she was sleeping. In our bed, my stomach twisted. I clicked through, hand shaking, eyes burning. One video clip stopped me cold. They were on a balcony. City lights behind them. She was painting. He was holding her waist. And then he kissed her. Not a hesitant kiss. Not a drunken mistake. A kiss that said, "This is mine now." I slammed the laptop shut so hard I thought I broke it. My heart didn't just crack, it fractured. The betrayal wasn't just about the kiss. It was the ease of it. The way he had slipped into a new life, a new love, like we had been nothing more than a detour. And still, I didn't cry. I sat there, in silence, as if crying would make it real, and I wasn't ready for that, because this wasn't the end of the story. This was just the moment the truth began to whisper. And I had no idea the worst was still waiting. I couldn't stop staring at the laptop screen. Her face, his face, together, in every corner of his life I'd never been a part of. Is this really happening? I wanted to scream, but my throat was dry, my heart a constant thrum in my ears. Was I imagining this? Was I seeing something that wasn't there? Maybe it wasn't as bad as it seemed. I closed my eyes, trying to make sense of it all. Amon had always been distant, yes. But this was intentional. He had chosen this woman. Chosen to share moments, to create memories without me. And worse, he never thought to tell me. Never said a word. I grabbed the postcard again. Don't wait. Live your life. Had he already moved on? Was this his way of telling me he was gone? That I was nothing more than a chapter that had ended, neatly wrapped up with no loose ends? But what about us? The life we had built, together, the house we painted walls for, the dreams we whispered about late at night, the plans for a future I thought was as solid as the foundation of our home. Was it all a lie? Amon, was he just another person who used me to fill a gap in his life until something better came along? I couldn't breathe. My hands were clammy, my chest tight. I needed to do something. Confront him, maybe. Tell him how badly he had hurt me. But what if I was wrong? What if I had misunderstood all of this? I needed clarity. But clarity was something I had lost the moment I found that postcard. The moment I clicked on that folder. The moment I let myself believe that this wasn't just an art residency anymore. This was a betrayal. A lie that stretched across miles, across years, and across everything I thought was real. Was he really capable of this? Could my husband, my Ammon, be the kind of man who would silently erase me from his life, as if I never existed, while painting his new life with someone else? I grabbed my phone. My thumb hovered over his contact, my heart pounding against my chest. Call him. Confront him. End this. Whatever this is. But then I stopped. What would I even say? What was I hoping for? For him to break down and apologize? To admit everything in one breath, begging for forgiveness? For him to say, "I'm sorry, Zara. I didn't mean to hurt you. I thought you would understand." Would I even believe him? I couldn't. The truth was starting to settle in like a heavy weight in my chest. I had been chosen to be his wife because he needed someone to love him. He needed someone to tether him to reality when he felt lost. But I wasn't the one he wanted to build his life with. I wasn't the one who made him feel alive. I wasn't the one who made him want to live his life. She was, and that thought nearly broke me. I wanted to believe I was being paranoid, that I was being melodramatic, that this could be explained away. Maybe he didn't think it was a big deal. Maybe to him, I was just a memory he hadn't discarded yet. But that didn't matter now. I stood up, pacing the living room, the walls of our home closing in on me. Every piece of furniture seemed to taunt me. The coffee table we picked together, the bookshelf that held our wedding photo. It was like I could see everything through a different lens now. A lens of doubt. Was I a fool for loving him? Was I a fool for believing that a man could truly choose me forever? No. I wasn't a fool. But I had trusted him. And trust had a way of turning into something far more painful when it was shattered. I dropped the postcard on the counter again, staring at it like it held the answers to all the questions in my head. The words, "Don't wait. Live your life," echoed in my mind like a mantra. I couldn't wait anymore. But I didn't know what to do with the rage burning inside me. The hurt. The betrayal. I grabbed my coat and headed out the door. I needed to see him. To confront him. To end this. But as I drove, a question gnawed at me. What I wasn't sure I was ready to answer. If he didn't love me, was there any way back from this? I didn't go straight to him. I thought I could confront him with all the fury I'd been holding in, but when I got to the car, I paused. I needed to know more than the glimpses I'd seen through his photos. I needed to understand why. Why he had chosen her. Why he had left me. I couldn't just walk into his world without knowing. I drove for hours. First, I went to his studio. It was quiet, like the air had been holding its breath for too long. I expected a rush of anger, but it wasn't that simple. I wasn't angry, it was broken. I scanned the room. His easel stood in the corner, abandoned. Paint splattered across the floor like a crime scene. Empty canvases stacked against the wall, waiting for someone to breathe life into them. Then, my eyes landed on something that made my stomach twist. A canvas. A painting, covered in a black cloth. I couldn't help myself. I pulled the cloth away, the fabric sliding across the wood with a soft sound, revealing a portrait. It was of her, of the woman in the photos. But the way he painted her, it wasn't just a portrait that was intimate. The way he captured her eyes, the soft curve of her neck, the way she smiled as if she knew a secret he was dying to tell. And I didn't just see her. I saw him in every brushstroke. The love, the longing, the way he had poured himself into that painting like he never had for me. My breath caught in my throat. It wasn't just an affair. It was everything. It was his heart, painted on canvas for all to see. A love he had chosen to live in full color while I was left in the shadows. That's when I heard the door creak open behind me. I turned around. There he stood. Aman. But he wasn't alone. He was there too. My heart froze in my chest. I didn't need to ask. I didn't need to hear him explain. The way they stood, close but not quite touching, the familiarity between them, it was as if they didn't even see me standing there. It was like they had been rehearsing this moment for days. "Zara? This is Sophia." Aman's voice was low, almost apologetic. His eyes didn't meet mine. I glanced at Sophia, her red dress from the photos, her confident smile that seemed to mock me in every way. "Hi, Zara," she said, her voice soft but clear. There was no shame in it, no hesitation. "So, you're the one he left behind." Her words hit harder than I expected. Aman stepped forward, his hand outstretched. "Zara, please, let me explain." "Explain? Explain what? What could he possibly say to fix this?" But before I could say anything, before the rage, the questions, the betrayal could spill from my mouth, the next words out of his mouth hit me like a punch to the gut. "We're moving in together, Zara." I felt my whole world tilt. The room blurred, and for a moment, I was outside of myself, floating, disconnected, like I wasn't even in control of my own body. I wanted to scream, to slap him across the face, to demand answers. But I couldn't. I just stood there, frozen, trapped in the unbearable truth of his words. "It's time, Zara." His voice was calm, almost too calm, as if he'd already accepted this was the end. End? I wanted to say no, wanted to shout at him, tell him this wasn't how our story was supposed to end. We were supposed to be forever, weren't we? But Sofieshi was already the next chapter. And I was just a footnote, a memory he had decided to erase. "We're happy, Zara. I hope you can understand," Aman said, his eyes finally meeting mine. But there was no love there anymore. No connection. Just a stranger in the body of the man I had once called my husband. I looked at Sophia, standing so confidently beside him. She didn't have the same history with him. She didn't have the scars, the inside jokes, the deep, messy love that had once lived between us. But in his eyes, she was everything. She was his world now. And that's when I realized I had been nothing but a stepping stone. A stepping stone for his art, his dreams, his escape. But he had already moved on. While I was still drowning in our shared memories, he had found someone else to fill the emptiness inside him. I turned to leave. I didn't look back. But the echo of his voice, so final, so cold, haunted me. "I'm sorry, Zara. I never meant to hurt you." But that was a lie. He had meant to hurt me. He just didn't care enough to see it. I didn't go back to the studio. I didn't want to see his face. I didn't want to hear his apologies, his excuses. He'd already made his choice, and I had already seen what I was worth to him. But the hardest part? The hardest part was standing there in the cold silence of our house that night. Our house. Where we once made plans. Where we once held each other in the dark, whispering promises. Where the echoes of us still lingered in every corner. It was a house full of ghosts, and I was suffocating in it. I waited for hours, sitting on the edge of our bed, my heart a tangled mess of disbelief and rage. I wanted to confront him. I wanted him to look me in the eye and explain how he could just walk away from everything we built together. But more than that, I wanted to make him feel something. I heard the front door open. His footsteps were slow, hesitant, like he knew the storm was coming. I stood up before he could even get to the bedroom. He didn't speak immediately. There was nothing but the soft hum of the house. The house that was supposed to be our safe place. I wanted to shout. To scream. To hurl every word I had kept locked inside at him. But I didn't. Instead, I said the one thing that I thought would hurt him most. "I saw your painting." His face paled. His mouth went dry. And for the first time, I saw a flicker of panic in his eyes. That was the moment I realized he hadn't prepared for this. He thought I was going to let him go without a fight. He took a step toward me, but I held up my hand, stopping him cold. "What do you want from me, Aman? What do you want me to say?" My voice was steady, though my hands shook. "You want me to congratulate you for finding someone new? For moving on so quickly? For betraying everything we had?" His eyes shifted, guilt crossing his face, but he quickly masked it with an expression of frustration. "Zara, this isn't what you think." "Oh, really?" I said, my voice low and cutting. "Then tell me, Aman. Tell me what it is. What is this? You and Sophia moving in together, building a life I was never a part of. Was it all just practice for you? Was I your rehearsal for her? The words felt like daggers, but they were true. I had to say them. I had to make him feel every ounce of the pain that had been suffocating me for weeks. His face tightened, and for a moment, I saw the man I once loved, his eyes full of emotion, a flicker of regret. But then he exhaled, a heavy breath that signaled his decision. I didn't want to hurt you, Zara. I never did. I left bitter, empty. Then why did you? Why did you lie to me? Why did you make me believe that we had a future when you were already planning your escape? He shook his head, his shoulders sagging under the weight of my words. You don't understand. I needed more. I needed her. Sophia sees me, Zara. She sees me the way I've always wanted to be seen. My breath caught in my throat. She sees you? Yes. She gets me in a way you never did. His voice was quiet now, almost ashamed, but there was no turning back. I've been miserable for so long, and I tried, Zara, I really did, but I couldn't pretend anymore. For a moment, everything inside me went still. So this was it. This was the truth. It wasn't just the affair. It wasn't just Sophia. It was everything. All the years I spent loving him, trusting him, believing that we would grow old together only for him to throw it all away because he needed someone else. Someone who didn't have the history, the baggage, the memories. I had been a burden to him, a piece of his past that he no longer wanted to carry. I looked him dead in the eye, and I saw him for who he truly was. This wasn't the man I loved. This was a stranger who had learned to hide behind excuses and half-truths. You don't get to apologize anymore, Aman. My voice broke, but I wasn't going to let him see the cracks. You don't get to tell me how much he tried or how hard it was. Because in the end, you chose her. You chose to destroy everything we had. His lips parted, but no words came out. And for the first time in my life, I didn't need an apology. I didn't need an explanation. I needed to walk away. To take myself out of the wreckage and let him live in the mess he had created. I turned toward the door, but as I reached for the handle, he called out, Zara, don't go. Please. I froze, but I didn't turn around. Goodbye, Aman. And then I left. I walked out of the house that was supposed to be mine and never looked back. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know where I was going or what I was supposed to do now. But I couldn't stay there, not in that house, not in that life. I had to leave. The night air hit me like a slap when I stepped outside. The cool breeze rushed over my skin, but it couldn't wash away the suffocating weight of everything that had happened. I wasn't sure what I was running from more, the man I had loved for so long, or the woman I had become after he shattered everything. I drove aimlessly, the road blurring beneath my tires, my mind numb. I couldn't stop replaying the words he had said. I needed more. She sees me. He had left me in the dust like a discarded memory, while he moved forward into something new, something better, something easier. I knew deep down that he had convinced himself he was doing the right thing. He probably believed that Sophia was his second chance, that she was everything he had been searching for while I was too blind to see it. But now, all I had was the road. And the emptiness inside me. I drove until I couldn't remember how long I'd been gone. Until the miles between me and that house felt like miles away from the woman I had been. I checked into a hotel, my hands trembling as I paid for the room. How had I ended up here? I sank onto the bed, the weight of it all crashing over me. I was alone. Alone in a world I thought I understood, with everything that had once mattered slipping through my fingers like sand. But as I sat there in the darkness, something shifted inside me. It wasn't relief. It wasn't peace. It wasn't forgiveness. It was strength. I was done with him. I was done with the lies, the hurt, the betrayal. I was done with being the person who accepted scraps of love and scraps of respect, hoping one day they'd grow into something whole. The version of me who had begged, who had cried, who had tried to fix everything, that person was gone. I couldn't go back to her. I had to move forward. For me, I didn't know what the future held or if I would ever love again. But what I did know was this. I was no longer waiting for someone else to decide my worth. I wasn't waiting for someone to choose me. I picked up the phone and dialed a number I hadn't called in weeks. Maya? Zara? Where are you? Are you okay? Maya's voice, always so steady, anchored me in a way I hadn't realized I needed. I'm fine, just needed to talk. There was a long pause on the other end. Then she sighed, as if she already knew what I needed. You don't have to say it, Zara. I can hear it in your voice. I leaned back against the bed, taking in a deep breath. I'm done, Maya. Done with trying to fix something that was never mine to fix. She was quiet for a moment, and when she spoke again, her voice was soft but filled with conviction. I'm proud of you. And that was all I needed to hear. I spent the next few days trying to piece myself back together. I stayed in a hotel room, took long walks through unfamiliar streets, and reminded myself that I was more than the sum of my past. I wasn't just Eamon's wife or Sophia's competition. I was Zara. And Zara was strong enough to survive this. But there were still moments, quiet moments, in the dead of night when the pain felt like it would swallow me whole. I would lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, wishing for something different, for things to be different. And in those moments I realized that the hardest thing wasn't losing him, it was losing the idea of us. The future I had built in my mind, the dream I had held onto for so long. And then, as if by some twist of fate, I received a message. It was from him. Zara, I've been thinking about everything. I'm sorry for what I did. I know I can't undo the past, but I want you to know that it was never about you. It was about me and what I needed to figure out. If there's even a chance we could talk, I'd like to try. My fingers hovered over the screen for what felt like an eternity. And then, without a second thought, I deleted the message. No. I'm done with this. I didn't need him to fix me. I didn't need him to apologize. I didn't need anything from him anymore. I needed to keep moving forward. The truth was, he had already let me go. And it was time for me to let him go too. And so, I did. And just like that, everything I knew about love and trust was gone. But the thing about endings? They're just the start of something new.